Welcome to EtherLink AI Insights, the podcast where we explore the intersection of cutting-edge AI strategy and real-world leadership challenges. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something pretty unconventional, an AI Vision Quest happening in Finland's Lapland. Sam, when I first heard about this, I thought, why would executives leave their offices to go to the Arctic? But the more I read, the more it clicked. What's your take?
Honestly, it's refreshing to see someone challenge the traditional executive retreat model. Most leadership programs are sterile hotel ballrooms where people half listen to keynotes. But here's what grabbed me. The premise that nature actually changes how your brain approaches complex systems problems. There's real neuroscience behind it. The default mode network activates in low stimulation environments. For AI governance, that matters.
Right. And we're not talking about meditation and yoga, though I'm sure that's part of it. We're talking about executives actually building AI agents while they're there. That's the hands-on element. But before we get into the details, let's set the scene for our listeners. What's the actual problem these retreats are trying to solve?
There's a massive governance gap. McKenzie found that 68% of European executives admit they don't have adequate AI governance frameworks in place. But here's the kicker. Only 31% have even appointed someone to lead AI governance. You've got CTOs building systems and C-suite leaders making strategy, but they're not aligned. That's where the real risk lives.
And now add the EU AI Act to that equation. That's not theoretical anymore. That's regulatory pressure that's actually hitting organizations right now. So you've got this convergence of a skills gap, a leadership alignment problem, and compliance deadlines all hitting at once.
Exactly. Gartner's data is damning. 87% of enterprise AI projects lack adequate alignment between technical teams and C-suite. That's not a training problem, that's a structural problem. Most executives don't understand what agentic AI systems actually are, or how to govern them responsibly. And compliance isn't something you bolt on at the end. It needs to be baked into architecture from day one.
So instead of the traditional executive learn strategy model, EtherTravel is flipping it. They're saying learn by building. Tell me about the personal mentor piece, because that seems like a big differentiator from a typical leadership program.
This is where it gets practical. Each executive gets assigned a personal AI mentor, someone from EtherLink's consulting team who's actually built these systems. It's not a group workshop, it's one-on-one customization. Your mentor understands your industry, your compliance obligations, your organizational maturity. They're not teaching generic AI concepts, they're solving your specific problem.
What does a typical week look like? Walk me through the structure.
The first couple of days are discovery. Your mentor is mapping your current AI landscape, understanding your competitive pressures, identifying where governance is breaking down in your organization. Days 2 through 4 shift into hands-on building. You're actually developing AI agents, workflows, multi-agent systems. Not theoretical, deployable prototypes.
So by day 4, an executive who maybe hasn't written code in 15 years is actually building something functional?
Yes, but not in the way you might think. They're using EtherDev's frameworks, which abstract away the complexity. The point isn't to turn them into engineers. It's to give them deep intuition for what's possible, what's hard, and what's risky. When you've actually wrestled with prompt engineering or agent behavior, you make better governance decisions back in the boardroom.
That makes sense. I've always thought the best executives understand the craft of their industry, even if they don't do it themselves anymore. Let's talk about the environment itself. Lapland, midnight sun, the forest. How does that actually help someone think better about AI governance?
There's solid research here. A University of Michigan study found that people in nature-based problem-solving sessions generated 24% more creative solutions to complex systems challenges compared to urban settings. The neuroscience explanation is that low-stimulation environments activate the default mode network. That's your brain's long-term planning and pattern recognition system.
So it's not just that people feel less stressed, their brains are literally wired differently for the type of thinking they need to do?
Precisely. Building an AI governance framework is a systems problem. You're thinking about risk cascades, compliance constraints, organizational incentives, technical possibilities, all interconnected. That kind of thinking happens naturally when you're in a space where external noise is minimized and your brain can do deep pattern work. The 24-hour daylight in summer Lapland is actually perfect for this. You lose the circadian pressure to sleep, so you can work on whatever rhythm feels natural.
Okay, so by day 4 or 5, what does an executive actually walk away with? Beyond the experience and the mentorship, what's tangible?
They've developed what EtherTravel calls a golden prompt stack, essentially the foundational instruction sets that will guide all their organization's AI outputs. Think of it as the constitution for how their enterprise AI behaves. It covers compliance, it covers brand values, it covers risk guardrails. That's something they can implement immediately when they get back.
So it's not like they're coming back with a nice binder full of recommendations that sit on a shelf. They've got a working framework they can deploy?
Exactly. They've got prototypes, they've got architectural decisions documented, they've got a mentor relationship they can continue, but more importantly, they've got the mental model. They understand how to think about agentic AI systems, how to govern them responsibly, and how EU AI Act requirements map to technical architecture. That translates directly into better decisions when they're back in their organization.
What about the EU AI Act piece? That seems like it could be a real sticking point for European executives right now. How does that get incorporated?
It's woven through the entire experience, not siloed off as compliance training. When you're building an AI agent, your mentor is walking you through the compliance implications in real time. How do you document risk assessments? Where do you need human oversight? How do you test for bias? These aren't theoretical. You're doing them as part of building the system.
That's actually brilliant, because compliance usually comes across as bureaucratic and burdensome. But when it's integral to design, it starts to feel like good architecture instead of a burden.
Right. And here's the thing. Organizations that treat compliance as design, not enforcement, actually end up with better, more robust AI systems. They catch edge cases earlier. They build trust with stakeholders because governance is visible and documented. The executives who come out of Lapland understanding that compliance and capability aren't opposed, they're aligned. Those leaders will shape their organizations differently.
Let's talk about timing. Why does this matter so much right now in 2025? Why not do this in 2024 or wait until 2027?
Because the enforcement timeline for the EU AI Act is accelerating. High-risk AI systems have stricter requirements, and most enterprise deployments fall into that category. Organizations that don't have governance frameworks and documentation in place right now are going to face real regulatory exposure in the next 18 months. This retreat is positioned as a way to get ahead of that curve, to have a governance strategy before enforcement gets serious.
Plus, agentic AI systems that can autonomously take actions, that's rapidly becoming standard in enterprises. Those are high risk by definition under the EU AI Act. So organizations need leaders who actually understand what agentic systems can do, what can go wrong, and how to govern them.
That's the core value proposition. Most executives today are still thinking about AI as a tool they control directly. Agentic AI is different. It's more autonomous, more emergent, riskier. You need leaders who've actually built these systems to understand the governance implications, and you need that understanding in place now, before these systems become ubiquitous.
What's the realistic outcome for someone who goes through this? Let's paint a concrete picture. A CTO or a chief digital officer attends. What's different about them in 3 months?
First, they return with a working governance framework specific to their organization, not a generic checklist. Second, they've got institutional knowledge they can transfer to their teams. They've built systems so they can speak credibly with engineers about trade-offs and constraints. Third, they have an ongoing mentor relationship with a senior AI architect, so they're not solving these problems in isolation.
And organizationally, that probably means faster, more confident AI deployments?
Exactly. And more aligned deployments. When your C-suite and your technical teams understand governance the same way, you reduce conflict and accelerate decision-making. You're not rehashing whether governance is important. You're debating the specifics of implementation, which is a more productive conversation.
One last question. Who should actually apply for this? Is this for every executive, or is there a profile that fits best?
Realistically, this is for leaders who are actively deploying or planning to deploy AI systems at scale, and who need to own governance strategy. CTOs, CDOs, heads of AI, sometimes CFOs dealing with compliance liability. It's not for executives who are just curious about AI. You need to be motivated by a real organizational challenge.
And you need to be willing to actually do hands-on work for a week, not just listen.
Yes. This is active learning, not passive. If you're looking for a retreat where you sit by a lake and hear about AI trends, this isn't it. But if you want to transform how your organization approaches AI governance and actually build something in the process, Lapland in summer is the place.
Sam, this has been fantastic. For our listeners who want to dig deeper into the structure, the mentor model, and what outcomes organizations are seeing, head over to etherlink.ai and find the full article on AI Vision Quest Finland. There's a lot more detail about how the week actually unfolds and what participants are building. Thanks for breaking this down with me, Sam.
Thanks, Alex. It's a fascinating model, combining nature-based learning with hands-on technical work and executive mentorship. Not your typical leadership retreat, but I think that's exactly why it works. Thanks to our listeners, and we'll see you on the next episode of EtherLink AI Insights.